we work on was the flat surface, and we try to put this Voronoi patterns on them. But what if we have a surface that is not flat? And it's very common that we're facing this problem. So there are multiple ways of creating that Voronoi patterns on the surface itself. So let's just start with the using the morph, the surface morph, in order to bring that patterns into the surface. So basically what we try to do is that we create this pattern, these Voronoi patterns, on a flat surface, and once we have that, we kind of transform or morph this on the surface that we have. Okay, so we have the loft surfaces. Let's create like a bounding box around it first. But after we create the bounding box, we get one of the item, which is like the surface of it, which gives us the area for this surface itself. And then from there, we have a flat surface. We put like a populated 2D points on it. And then we create our patterns, Voronoi patterns. And then after we have that, we kind of morph it back to the surface itself. So let's just start going back to the Grasshopper. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a bounding box around the surface, the surface itself. So if I go to the content, what you will see is that now it's a bounding box around this surface. Now, let's go and debrep this surface, right? Or deconstruct, deconstruct this surface. I'm going to connect the bounding box to this, and I have all the sides, all the 6 sides of that box, right? Now let's get the item out of it. One of the surfaces is enough because that's what we want looking for. So I'm going to get the item, and if I'm not mistaken, that should be item number 4 in our list. So let's connect that into the index of this item, and then let's check. Just go back here. It's underneath this surface. You see that it's highlighted. So that's going to be enough for us to perform our surface that we're looking for. So first thing, as always, when we want to create this Voronoi patterns, is that we're going to create this, populate that with the 2D points, right? And the region for that will be this item that we just select. So we're going to connect that to the region. We keep the number as is. We're not changing that. And then we need the Voronoi patterns here. So we've got to put the Voronoi patterns there. And we connect that 2D points to this. And the center point or plane, we are going to use the same thing that we have, which is like basically that's area. So if I go back, you see that now I kind of create that patterns that I was looking for here. Now, if you notice, it's kind of extended beyond the surface itself. And the reason for that is that I basically should kind of create a boundary for this. So I can use this as a boundary as well that fits this within the surface area that I created. Once I have that, I have multiple options for bringing that pattern into the surface. The easiest one basically is that I can just project it. So if I project this like a pattern that I create on top of this surface, I can have that. So let's try it with the easy one first. So I can go with the project, and item that we're looking at is that the project curve. So project a curve onto the brep. So I have the brep, which all those cells, right, which goes here, and my brep will be basically this surface that I created. The direction for it is going to be the z because we place it underneath the surface. So I'm going to use the z value for the direction. So I'm going to connect that here. And if you go back, and let me just select this curvature project, you see that now I kind of project that patterns on the surface itself. So let me just turn off everything so you can see what we created. Just want a preview of this on. And you see that that is the kind of a projected on top of this surface itself. So that's one option I have. The other option that we discussed before, I mean maybe week 4 or 3, was that basically using a morph transformation. So here, what I have to do is that I'm going to just delete this part for now, or maybe hide them first. Just preview off. In order to do that, what we need is that if we go with the Surface Morph, the option for the geometry, it has to be a geometry. I cannot use the line or curve that I got from the cell. So before using that into my morph like a component, what I have to do is that I need to extrude that curve first. So I'm going to extrude it. And the base is going to be that. And the direction, I'm going to use the z direction, but I'm going to use a value of 0.2. So z direction, z units, and the value for it, I'm going to use a 0.2 value. So now I have the extrusion of that surface underneath this surface itself. So basically the outcome that I got from the Voronoi cell, I'm going to use that. Now the rest of them will be relatively straightforward. I need the geometry, which is going to be this. I need the reference bounding box, and I need the surface itself. So for the surface, I have the surface. So I'm going to go back to the loft, bring the loft to the surface, and for the reference, I'm going to use the bounding box. The content of the bounding box is going to be the content of this extrusion. Just remember that the bounding box right now is set up for per object, and we have to change that to a union. So it's going to be one object itself, not a separated object. And that's going to go into the reference. So that's going to the reference itself. Now, I need the domain of u and v value here. So what I need to do is that I have to go back here into the loft, right? This is my surface, and I need to deconstruct that domain, basically. Not this one. I'm using this one, which give me the value of u and the value of v. So I'm going to use that as my surface, treat my surface as a domain, and use that value into the u value and v value of this Surf Morph. And then last one is going to be the width of the basically the width of that like geometry that I want to use. I'm going to use the same value that I use for the extrusion. Now, if I go back to my surface, you see that now I kind of make that surface transform that basically that Voronoi patterns into this surface.